Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is mid-November 2020 and this is going to be the Tower of Power video number 97. This is going to be video that we shot the same day as part 96, which was the maiden voyage, first time on the water with the Tower of Power, and we were having a problem with the prop with the engine over revving and losing power. So the first thing we decided to try that same day, which is what we're going to pick up with here, is I ended up pulling in to a shallow area where I could get out of the boat and adjust the trim. So there's no power trim on this motor, and to adjust the trim, there's basically like a sector bracket that has a series of holes, and there's a pin that goes through it, and that basically controls the angle. So I forgot exactly where the setting was to start with. It wasn't at one extreme or the other. It was kind of like in the middle. So the first thing we tried to do was move it one hole in one direction and see what would happen. And then when that didn't work, we tried going one hole in the other direction and decided which one of those kind of improved, and we went from there. The reason why I'm telling you all this is because we're still working with one of the cameras that had no audio. So the first like 5 minutes or so, I'm just going to do some voiceover and kind of narrate what's going on with the video you guys are going to be watching, and then the other camera's audio should pick up and we'll go from there. Alright, so this is the little spot where I was able to dock and get out of the boat and adjust that trim. And then basically once I adjusted that, we ended up backing out and heading back out on the water. So to start out, you know, kind of taking it easy, we're going to go through this area between the, we just went through this area between an island and the shore. And then right here I start giving it a little more throttle and pushing it a little bit harder. You can see what the wake looks like back there. So the two key terms here that we're dealing with are cavitation and ventilation. So you can see right there how the wake changes. So there I ease off the throttle. Had obviously at that point it must have over revved, and it was doing the same thing. And right here would be, I don't know what I'm saying right there, but I'm sure I'm talking about how it's still doing it. And then try it again. You experienced boat guys probably are taking one look at this wake behind the boat, and you know the disturbance behind the boat there, and probably already know what's wrong. So it seemed to us that at this point the problem wasn't any better, and in fact it may actually have seemed to have gotten a little worse. So we tried this like 3 times just to, you know, satisfy ourselves that what we were experiencing was in fact the case, which was that it didn't seem like the problem had gotten any better, and if anything it seemed like it might have gotten a little bit worse. So then we decided to pull back into the shallows, and here I'm getting back in the boat after adjusting the trim again the other way. And right about here is where Aiden actually pulls out the other camera and starts it recording, so our audio is going to be restored.
Alright, so the problem we seem to be having is as soon as I push the throttle past a certain point and it comes up on plane, all of a sudden it'll just rev really high. And it almost seems like the prop's coming up out of the water too much. It's like cavitation or something. You get some really violent vibration, and then, you know, we ease off the throttle and it settles back down again. But we can't get any really top speed out of it because of that. So I'm playing around with the adjustment of that pin, with that sector section there with multiple holes, and I moved it a couple of holes in one direction and it didn't seem to make a difference. So now we're just going to go for extremes. I've got it all the way over to one way. We're going to see how it acts that way. If that doesn't improve things, or makes it worse, we're going to move it all the way over to the other way. If that doesn't improve things or makes it worse, then we're going to probably have to quit for now, and I'll have to do a little bit of research and see if I can't figure out how to get this thing under control. The motor seems to be running good, but when the RPMs spike like that, it's unnerving, because, you know, you think it's going to throw a piston right out of the block.
Probably threw a piston.
Oh, you're kidding me. What the hell's going on? That was weird. Come on.
Sounds like the throttle. But it sounds like it's so low in throttle.
The word you're looking for is idle.
Idle.
That's normal right there.
I think that was worse. Yeah, that's worse.
Not only that, it's putting the front end of the boat up a lot
not as badly as before.
Oh, I hate having to go all the way back in just to change that pin location, but if I try and do it out here and I drop that pin, then we're out of luck. So. We just go along at this little speed here, it seems fine. As soon as we start pushing it.
Yeah. How are we gonna tube on this speed?
Well, when you guys were little kids, tubing at this speed was fun. Remember that first boat only had a 40 horsepower on it? That thing couldn't get out of its own way once we put a bunch of people in it.
Yeah, it sunk. There's gonna be a lot of wind noise in this camera.
Yeah. Didn't even have to go fast for that time. Just had to go around the corner. So maybe we need to move it the other direction.
We should put that camera right there on the ladder so we can look down.
Yeah. Right there, the RPMs go really high, but it's not making the boat go fast.
Yeah, we all want
It's
that.
like it's spinning its wheels.
A burnout on water.
This is like the top speed we can get out of it right here without it messing up. Alright, let's go back in and change that pin location again.
Yeah.
A hell of a wake up, I'll tell you that.
Oh, I caught that on video.
Back to narrating, because we ended up pulling back in so I could readjust the trim one last time for one last try of the day. But at that point, Aiden had had enough, so he decided that he wanted to go home. And he took the handheld camera with him, which left me just with this camera, which at the time I didn't realize that the audio wasn't working. So the remainder of this episode is not going to have any audio, but I wanted to show you this video clip because I thought it was really interesting. So what I ended up doing was setting the trim to the max level of tilt back. So the motor is tilted back towards the rear, and that enables the prop to be angled downward into the water more, and it also gets the prop a little bit deeper in the water. So I ended up going back out, and I was able to get to full throttle and not have it do that crazy thing with the RPM shooting up. So for the most part, problem solved. It's at a point where it's usable. The interesting thing is, though, what I didn't know while I was going out driving around there and everything was fine, I had that rearward, that camera that was facing down at the stern of the boat. I had that camera still on, and I caught a very interesting look at what was going on back there. And this huge trough forms in the back of the boat, and it's so deep that you can actually see at points where the top edge of the lower unit is completely exposed. And there's actually a hole there where water is shooting out like a little fountain. All right, so right here you can really get a good look at that trough that I was talking about, and you can see the water starting to bubble up and shoot out of that hole. So I don't think that that's normal. I don't think that that's, you know, the way it should be. I think we should probably not be able to see that much of the lower unit exposed at wide open throttle. But it is what it is. So then I repositioned the camera back up to the front rail of the boat there, so we get some rearward facing shots. And it's going along. We're going along at a pretty good clip here, and things are good. You can't tell because we don't have audio, but I am able to get up to wide open throttle and maintain it, which is great. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button, and if you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing. And the next episode, which actually occurred a couple of days after this, maybe about a week after, I end up going out for a solo run, and we have audio for that one. So that'll be the first run with the transom set to what seems to be an acceptable level, and hopefully you guys are going to enjoy that video. And then I'm probably going to add on some video of a run we took, first run with pulling the tube. So that was that was interesting. The kids complained, oddly enough, they complained about way too strong exhaust fumes. So I didn't think too much of it. My initial thought was I usually use the Quicksilver brand of 2-stroke outboard oil for my premix. And that Quicksilver, one of the things that's supposed to be so great about it is that it's supposed to be a smokeless or low smoke type of oil. And what I'm running here in these videos, because I was out of the Quicksilver stuff, is some older 2-stroke oil that I had. Perfectly fine for this motor. This is an old motor, so it's going to be perfectly happy as long as I have the ratio correct, which I do. And I just figured, well, that's probably why we're getting more smoke, because I'm using old-fashioned 2-stroke oil, right? But it now occurs to me that what I think the kids may have been experiencing is, I think that a lot of that exhaust that normally ends up being expelled underwater was because of the fact we had that big trough forming around the prop, that at full RPM when I'm pulling the tube, a lot of that exhaust is coming right out to the surface quickly, and they're right behind the boat, and it's hitting them. So they literally was saying they couldn't stand it. It was making their eyes water and sting. That's how much exhaust was getting in their faces. So I'm not sure how we're going to resolve that issue. Kids are kind of losing their interest in tubing anyways. They're becoming slaves to the internet, slaves to their phones and all of this social media garbage. All right, so enough of my rant about that. Until next time, take care.